And they're underway in race 498, the final of the under-17 Schoolboys Coxed. Lane 1, Geelong Grammar. Lane 2, Scotch College, Melbourne. Lane 3, Scots. Lane 4, St Augustine's. Lane 5, Shaw. Lane 6, Wesley College. Lane 7, Newington. And Lane 8, Melbourne Grammar.
And on screen it is the Shaw School that leading this one. Jessica Wickenden's been involved with their first day for quite a number of years, and she coaches that crew with Peter Costa, who was a King's Cup winner last year in the 2-seed of the New South Wales 8. Shaw School lead through the first 500 metres from St Augustine's, the defending title holders, who were 0.94 back, just 0.05 to Scots, who were third at the New South Wales GPS head of the river. Newington College in 4th, Wesley College in 5th, followed by Scotch Victoria in 6th, Melbourne Grammar in 7th, and Geelong Grammar School on the far side of the course in 8th place. We're just starting to lose a little bit of touch here with the race leaders. Shaw out of lane number 5 as they lead St Augustine's, who are alongside of them. And then we have Scots and Wesley. So you can see the bow of the Wintec King boat of Shaw School. It is narrowly just ahead of St Augustine's, who are just starting to edge their bow into the lead. The defending title holders, they're coached by Judith Ungamak, who's won an Olympic gold medalist, an Olympic bronze medalist in the women's 8, and Matthias Ungamak, world champion in the Coxed 4. So now coming through the halfway mark, St Augustine's 0.41 of a second ahead of Shaw School, and Scots looming large in 3rd position. Wesley in 4th place, and they're then followed by Newington College in lane number 7, and then Scotch College, and then back to Melbourne Grammar and Geelong Grammar in 8th place.
Glad to see Owen, the high-vis caps have spread to Sydney as well. I think they were pioneered by a couple of schools in the Brisbane River 10 or more years ago now, after a couple of unfortunate incidents involving City Cats, but they certainly do stand out, those bright green caps of the St Augustine School.
Yeah, Corio Bay also prominent with their orange ones as well. So St Augustine's have moved to the best part of a half a boat length advantage over the crew from Shaw School, who took this race out early. They've had a very good season, St Augustine's, in the what is their year 10 first 8, for want of a better word, in how they would race throughout the season. And they're out to half a boat length, and a very good third 500 coming from Wesley College, who are going stroke for stroke with Scots College from Bellevue Hill in Sydney for that all-important bronze medal. So tremendous mid-race rhythm from St Augustine's that has seen them move out even further ahead now, almost getting out towards 3/4 of a boat length as they come through the 1,500 metre mark ahead of Shaw School, and very little to separate Scots College from Wesley College, 0.41 with 500 metres left to go, and then back to Newington College, and then Scotch from Melbourne Grammar School, and then a bit of a gap to Geelong Grammar in 8th position.
Yeah, neat length there to St Augustine's, but a good battle behind them for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Scots Shaw and Wesley Melbourne coming through fairly strongly in the closing strokes as well, so it could certainly get interesting here for the silver and bronze medals.
Yeah, Scots certainly throwing everything at Shaw School. Shaw beat them at the New South Wales GPS head of the river. Sydney Grammar were between those two crews, but Wesley is certainly finishing this one off strongly indeed, and they're trying to pick off some seats in that Shaw School boat. And Newington have a spirited finish, 2nd from the grandstand side of the course, and they'll just start to come into view on the camera shortly. So St Augustine's, can they be caught? 200 metres left in this under-17 Schoolboy Coxed 8 as they try and defend their title in the White Hudson Shell, and they've moved to the front in the middle 1,000, which they've made their own, and they're seeing the others having to seemingly fight it out for minor medals. Newington College seem to be the fastest moving boat on the course at the moment out of lane number 7. They're starting to pick off some seats in the Wesley boat alongside of them and go after Shaw and also Scots College. But at the head of the field, St Augustine's Leading this one and leading it by just under a boat length over Shaw School and very, very close to Wesley and Newington College are still flying out of lane number 7 and Scots could miss out on everything here. So St Augustine's defend their national title. Second goes to Shaw School. Third to Newington College. Very, very close for 4th and 5th between Wesley and Scots College, who had a brave, bold race out of lane number 3. They're then followed home by Scotch out of Melbourne. Melbourne Grammar School in 7th. And 8th, Geelong Grammar School.
Incredible finish there for the minor medals. 4 crews into 2 spots for silver and bronze. No doubt about our winners. St Augustine's from Sydney, the race winners. At this stage, we've got Shaw in 2nd place and Newington in 3rd. That is how we saw it from here as well, just ahead of Wesley College, Melbourne, and Scots of Sydney. I'm not sure about that order for 4th and 5th, but I think our medalists are as they're listed on screen there. Scotch College in 6th place, Melbourne Grammar 7th, and Geelong Grammar in 8th place. But a strong win to St Augustine's of Sydney, 6:36.94 their unofficial time. And they won it by just over 3 seconds from Shaw and Newington. The presentation of medals for the Under-17 Schoolgirls Coxed 8 Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Mike Mackay, OAM, Olympic gold medalist. In 3rd place and bronze medalist, the Methodist Ladies College, Anthea Grutzner, Alexandra Oliver, Nicola Rouse, Iris Jeffrey, Ali Wilson, Steph Gordon, Nina Ferris, Rachel Rockman, and Sally Danks. Coaches Sarah Henderson and Kate McNamara. In 2nd place, and silver medalists, representing Presbyterian Ladies College, Perth, Pippa Joyce, Eloise Middlemass, Katie Jackson, Elizabeth Dyke, George Roberts, April Webster, Maddie Marley, Grace Fisher, and Lucinda Cox. The crew was coached by David Milne. The gold medalists and Australian champions for 2019, the Queenwood School. Chloe Gillette, Madeline Newman, Sophie Nell, Stephanie Preller, Tiffany Bota, Ava McLean, Chelsea Prout, Beth McClellan, and Miranda Osborne. Coaches Ray Boyle and Max Stanistreet. Please congratulate the 2019 Australian champions and medalists. They are racing in race 499, the A final of the Schoolgirls Coxed Quad Scull. Wrighton Girls, the defending national champions here. Lane 1 is the Corowa Anglican Girls School from Melbourne. Lane 2, St Hilda's from Queensland. Lane 3 is Wrighton Girls. Lane 4, Stuart Home. Lane 5, Kinross Walleroy. Lane 6, Wrighton Girls. Lane 7, Loretto Normanhurst. And Lane 8, PLC Perth.
And Kinross Walleroy and Stuart Home, semi-final winners there in 4 and 5. And Kinross Walleroy led through the first 500 metres in 1:46.31 from Stuart Home. And Wrighton Girls, the defending title holders, in lane number 3. They're in 3rd spot. St Hilda's in 4th. Second of the Wrighton crews in 5th. PLC Perth in 6th. Loretto Normanhurst in 7th. And Corowa Anglican Girls School in 8th place. So 2 of the Wrighton Girls School winners from last year returning into the crew out in lane number 3. Alora Kelly, Katia Borderley, along with Eliza Lamb and Philippa Danks, Tamsin Ross, the coxswain. And they're coached by Matt Wilson. They've won an incredible 5 in a row in the head of the schoolgirls in Victoria. It's the New South Wales schoolgirl head of the river winners, Kinross Walleroy School, that lead this race as they start to make their way up towards the 900 metre mark from Stuart Home. And looming there is the bow of the number 3 of Wrighton Girls, coached by the irrepressible Matt Wilson. Kinross Walleroy School on screen. Isabella Scammell, Lucy Jenkins, Bridget Yeomans, Freya Neville, Jetta Kennett, laying down in the bow of the boat as the coxswain and coached by 2-time Olympian Sarah Cook, and they make their way through the halfway mark, still leading from Stuart Home and just 0.8 seconds back to Wrighton Girls in 3rd spot. St Hilda's in 4th out of lane number 2, and then the second of the Wrighton Girls showing their great depth in schoolgirl sculling as they're in 5th position. Loretto Normanhurst on their home course in lane number 7 are in 6th. Corowa Anglican Girls in 7th. And PLC Perth in 8th place. But Kinross Walleroy trying to get out to some clear water. And Stuart Home doing their best to ensure that doesn't happen. And Wrighton Girls now just starting to gradually pick up a seat every 3 or 4 strokes on the Stuart Home crew and move their way up into equal 2nd position.
Yeah, the Wrighton crew certainly a dominant season down in Victoria. The Corowa crew on the far side of the screen, or the top of the picture there, finishing 3rd place in that head of the schoolgirls race. But Wrighton had a convincing win there, but finding the competition a bit hotter here, certainly in the form of Kinross Walleroy, who've gone out hard. And Stuart Home from Queensland, who were as we mentioned a couple of times, won their first head of the river in 20 years last season under the coaching of Emma McCarthy, who now leads the Stuart Home program, and a pretty strong program there at the Stuart Home School up there in the inner west of Brisbane.
And Wrighton had put their bow ahead of them into 2nd spot, but Stuart Home pushing back on them as we head up to about 1,400 metres covered. And the second of the Wrighton boats, that's the crew of Emma Haberfield, Sophia Williams, Alice McNeil and India Curtin, with Kylie Delanoy coxing. And once again coached by the team of Matt Wilson and Chelsea Frawley, that are also starting to show their good mid-race rhythm as these crews approach the 1,500 metre mark. Kinross Walleroy leading, and the Wrighton Girls crew in lane number 3 having pushed back into 2nd spot. So push, counter push. That's how it's working between Wrighton in lane 3, Stuart Home in lane 4, and just quietly going about their work in lane number 7 is Wrighton Girls in lane number 6. But Kinross Walleroy still lead and still looking strong in lane number 5 in this schoolgirl Coxed Quad Scull Championship of Australia. We have St Hilda's in 5th position, Loretto Normanhurst in 6th, PLC Perth in 7th, and Corowa Anglican Girls in lane 8.
Yeah, Wrighton come again at Stuart Home now. Those two crews, a really good battle for 2nd and 3rd. And the second Wrighton crew there in lane 6, still a chance of a medal as well. But Kinross looking good here in that blue boat. Almost a link, but the lane 3 combination from Wrighton is coming at them here. They've got around about 300 metres still to race.
Yeah, Freya Neville in the stroke seat of Kinross Wallaroy School looks so relaxed. I certainly wouldn't be relaxed if I saw that Wrighton Girls School charging.
Look at the move now
in lane number 3. So they are certainly moving as we come up past the 1750 metre mark. And those pushes and counter pushes with Stuart Home. It looks like Wrighton Girls have come up trumps in that battle. But can they catch Kinross Wallaroy, who were very, very strong in the early stages of this? And can the second of the Wrighton boats get on the podium and try and do almost as well as we saw Scotch do in the Schoolboy Coxed 4s? Yeah. St Hilda's putting in a gallant performance in 5th position, but at the head of the field, Kinross Wallaroy still leading and still managing to fend off Wrighton Girls and do their best to stop them going back-to-back in the Schoolgirl Cox Quad Sculls. Lane number 5. It is the blue boat of Kinross Wallaroy School still in the lead, and Stuart Home fighting back with Wrighton Girls in the minor medals, but it will be Kinross Wallaroy that take out the Schoolgirl Cox Quad Scull in 2019. Ahead of the defending champions, Wrighton Girls, who placed second. Stuart Home get the bronze medal, just ahead of a gallant performance from Wrighton Girls' second boat to grab 2 of the top 4 spots. St Hilda's from Queensland claim 5th, and Loretto Normanhurst will be 6th, ahead of a good race for 7th and 8th between Corowa Anglican Girls and PLC Perth. And that's how it will finish up in the Schoolgirl Cox Quad, won by Kinross Wallaroy.
So Kinross Wallaroy led all the way in a great battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Kinross Wallaroy in 1st place. Wrighton Girls lane 3 finished in 2nd place. Stuart Home just hung on for 3rd. They'll get the bronze medal. 4th will go to Wrighton Girls in lane 6. 5th place St Hilda's. 6th Loretto Normanhurst. 7th the Corowa Anglican Girls School. And 8th is PLC Perth. 7:37.67 there unofficially for Kinross Wallaroy. And 3.03, in fact 1.92 seconds was the margin from 1st to 2nd. The presentation of medals for the Under-17 Schoolboys Coxed 8 Championship of Australia. The medals were presented by Mike Mackay, OAM, dual Olympic gold medalist. In 3rd place, and bronze medalists, Newington College, Callum Latham, Jack Callanan, Jack Perkis, William Stormont, Carl Koverick, Leo Burkett Doyle, Hugo Hobbs, Sam Bristow, and Ben Dewhurst. Crew was coached by Ralph Hobbs. In 2nd place, and silver medalists, the Shaw School. Henry Collins, Joseph Walker, Hamish Hunter, Max Deutsch, Nicholas Donahue, Ben Brunker, Charlie Boyd, Thomas Livingston, and Oliver Wilson. Coaches Peter Costa and Jessica Wickenden. The gold medalists and Australian champions for 2019, St Augustine's College. Brandon Smith. Oliver Thomas. Fred Warburton. Oliver St Pierre. Ben DeStazo. Bo Nicholas. Finn Lawton. Tom Gerrans. And Ben Edwards. Coaches Judith Ungermuck and Matthias Ungermuck. Please congratulate the 2019 Australian champions and medalists. The Schoolboys Coxed Quad Scull is our next final. The race already underway. Brighton Grammar School in lane 1, Melbourne High in lane 2, Radford College in 3, Newington in 4 and in lane 5, the Southport School in 6, Launceston Church Grammar School in 7, and the Brisbane Grammar School in lane 8.
It's the two Newington College crews that lead. This is their first 8 that has been split into 2 Coxed quads. And it's the crew straight by Finn Taish that was leading at the first 500 in 1:36.55 from the other Newington boat, Melbourne High School. They're in 3rd spot out of lane number 2, then followed by Radford College, Launceston Church Grammar, Brighton Grammar, Brisbane Grammar. And as they move through the 1,000-metre mark, Melbourne High School have now just shifted ahead of the second of the Newington boats, but it's still Finn Taish's crew that leads out of lane number 5. You can see on screen Melbourne Grammar there in lane number 2. Joe Christie, friend Reinsch Wentner, and Oscar Kingham, Nick Zigata, and Leo Jazuski, coached by Michael Smith, Carl Tomzak, and Paul McGann, that got some very nice rhythm there in lane number 2 with the green bow number in 2nd position.
They're really moving up in that leading Newington crew too. It looked early on like the two Newington crews had a bit of a margin, but Melbourne High coming through quickly in the second 500 metres.
Yeah, they're certainly just moving well, you know, drawing through very, very flat, and looking pretty efficient here. And this race will go on a little bit longer than it normally would with these bit of a cross head breeze blowing here, particularly in the early stages of this one. You can see Radford College now just starting to move up on Newington's second boat of Elliot O'Connor, Samuel Boland, Adrian Freeberg and Shannon Lowe Griffiths, with Charlie Nicholas coxing them. So that's Radford College out of lane number 3, coached by Vicky Spencer. And they're moving up into a shot at the medals in this one as the crews start to make their way up towards the 1,500 metre mark. So Radford, arguably the fastest boat on the course at the moment, as they're starting to get there down to around about 3/4 of length down on Melbourne High School. But Newington still holding onto the lead through that 1,500 metre mark, just 1.17 seconds to Melbourne High School. Radford are in 3rd, 4th Newington, and then we have Southport School, Brighton Grammar on the far side of the course are also finishing this one off relatively well. Launceston Church Grammar in 6th, and in 8th place is Brisbane Grammar School on the grandstand or side of the course or bottom of the screen. But on screen now, Newington College, Harry Jansen, Angus Webster, Alexander Wood, Finn Tainch, and coxed by Thomas Wadland and coached by Elliot Shackcloth Bertinetti, continuing to hold only about 1/4 of a length's advantage over Melbourne High School, and Radford are really flying. Samuel Earl, Joseph Walker in that boat, and Noah Sampson and Damien Schroeder, who grabbed a bronze in the under-19 double earlier this week, certainly moving, and they're Only about a seat down on Melbourne High School in the battle for the silver medal. The second of the Newington boats is starting to get swamped a little bit by the Southport School, Launceston Church Grammar, and also Brighton Grammar on the far side of the course, gunning for them as well. But these medals could go any of the three ways here as the crews come into the last 120 metres. Radford have had a scintillating back end of this race, as they've started to draw up on terms with Melbourne High School and Newington, the early race leaders. Can they hold on? Or will they get overrun by the ACT School? Or will they get overrun by Melbourne High School in the latter stage of this one? Newington still with their bow in front. They're shortening up a little bit. Timing's going out a little bit, but they're going to hold on. Newington College will hold on and take out the title they won a couple of years ago from Radford College, who get the silver medal. A great second half of the race from them. Third goes to Melbourne High School, fourth Southport School, and they'll then followed by Launceston Church Grammar, the second of the Newington boats, and then followed by Brighton Grammar and Brisbane Grammar in 8th position.
Yeah, close all round there in the final of the Schoolboys Coxed Quad Scalbot race. 500 has been won by Newington College on lane 5, ahead of Radford College from the ACT in second place and Melbourne High third. Fourth was the Southport School. Fifth, the Launceston Church Grammar School. Sixth was Newington lane 4. Then it was Brighton Grammar in 7th place and Brisbane Grammar School in 8th. Newington there in a time of 6:54.49. And they won it by just 0.64 seconds from first to second and 0.53 from second to third. So very close for the medals in the Schoolboys Coxed Quad Scull. Presentation of medals for the Schoolgirls Coxed Quadruple Scull Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Nick Parr and Emma Brown, Chairman of Rowing Queensland and Queensland Councillor to Rowing Australia. In third place and bronze medalists, the Stewart Holmes School. Sophia Tully. Lucy Hope. Emma Tucker. Ella McKenzie. Isabel Maley. The crew was coached by Emma McCarthy. Second place and silver medalists, the Wrighton Girls School. Elora Kelly. Katja de Bortoli. Eliza Lamb. Philippa Danks. And Tamsin Ross. Crew was coached by Matt Wilson. The gold medalists and Australian champions for 2019, Kinross Walleroy. Isabella Scammell. Lucy Jenkins. Bridget Yeomans. Freya Neville. Jetta Kennett. Crew was coached by Sarah Cook. Please congratulate the 2019 Australian champions and medalists. And they are racing in the A final of the Schoolgirls Coxed for the Sydney Cup, currently held by Pymble Ladies College. Lane 1, Walford Anglican. Lane 2, Melbourne Girls Grammar School. Lane 3, MLC from Kew. Lane 4, Pymble Ladies. Lane 5, Geelong Grammar. Lane 6, Geelong College. Lane 7, St Catherine's Melbourne. And Lane 8, Loretto Turak.
Yeah, so St Catherine's the winners in 2016. They're on screen there in lane number 7. And they were leading this one last year to the 1500 metre mark, and when a storming finish from Pymble Ladies College ran them down in the latter stages of that one. But now just starting to move to the front as they've moved past the 500 metre mark. Geelong Grammar School on screen in the boat named after their late former coach, Debbie Klingleffer Woodford. And they lead from the Geelong College in second spot. St Catherine's, who took it out earlier, further 0.16 back. Pymble Ladies College, the defending title holders, in fourth spot. MLCQ in fifth. Loretto Turak, who won this event in 2014, they're there in sixth position. Melbourne Girls Grammar in seventh. And Walford Anglican School for Girls, who won this race only about
2017
years
was
ago.
Walford, yeah. Pymble Ladies last year, Walford the year before that, and St Catherine's the winners in 2016. So plenty of past champions here looking to score another national title.
Yeah, so Geelong Grammar looking very, very strong. They're in lane number 5. Flora McKenzie, Sophie Ward, Millie Friday, Emma Kent, Sarah McTaggart, Olivia Moore, Brooke Pithy, Maddie Atkins and Meg Watkins is the coxswain of that crew. And they're starting to move out from St Catherine's and Pymble Ladies, starting to move their way up in this field, along with their great rivals, MLCQ. Those two schools have traded national championships in this event for quite a number of years. They have a long rivalry that dates back over a decade, and certainly the heavyweights of schoolgirl rowing in Australia duking it out here as they start to make their way up to the 900 metre mark, with Geelong Grammar with the advantage. It's only a slender one though. St Catherine's only about a canvas down, and MLCQ also right there with them, and Pymble Ladies College right there with them. So Geelong College back in fifth, Loretto Turak in 6th, Melbourne Girls Grammar in 7th, and Walford with a fair bit of work to do on the far side of the course. They've lost touch with this leading group.
Speaking of great rivals, Geelong Grammar and Geelong College, they're drawn side by side, as luck would have it, 2 lanes 5 and 6. But Geelong Grammar got the best of the Geelong College at the Melbourne Head of the River last weekend, and they certainly are looking good here as well. That's the crew on lane 5 with their bow now just narrowly showing out in front, I would think, of the St Catherine's School from Melbourne.
Yeah, St Catherine's only about a seat down on Geelong Grammar, and only a further seat down is MLCQ. So this is absolutely brutal racing in the championship quarter of this one. And there's the bow number 4 of Pymble Ladies College, the defending title holders, coached by Simon Pennington and Jeff Patterson. They're in 4th spot, and then the bow of Geelong College starting to show in lane number 6. On screen then, Melbourne Girls Grammar School in lane number 2, but at the head of the field, it is the crew from Geelong Grammar, with MLCQ having a very, very strong third 500 metres. They're the crew third from the far side of the course, or third from the top of the screen. And these crews coming up to about 1450 metre mark, and very, very little separating the top 3. And it is crew from MLCQ who have had this very, very strong third 500 metres. Can Geelong Grammar come back on them? Because they've just lost about 4 seats to MLCQ.
MLCQ were the head of the schoolgirls winners from that regatta a couple of weeks ago in Geelong. Not a member of the APS MLCQ, so they don't race in the head of the river, which was won by Geelong Grammar. But the head of the schoolgirls regatta, it was MLCQ who beat home the Geelong College. And St Catherine's were third in that race. So the Victorian crews really seeming to have it to themselves in the lead at this stage anyway.
Yeah, Pymble starting to close a little bit on St Catherine's, just as they did last year. We know they've got a very, very strong last 500. I'm sure they're probably sick of having to keep using it. But they've got plenty of work ahead of them if they're going to try and get themselves up a couple of spots here. They're in 4th spot and challenging the crew from St Catherine's, and trying to creep up on the crew from Geelong Grammar. But at the head of the field, MLCQ, can anyone catch them? They are looking the goods here as they come into the last 300 metres. Of course, won this event on numerous occasions, and can they add the 2019 title to that. Pymble Ladies College finishing off very strongly. St Catherine's throwing everything at Geelong Grammar as well. And seemingly, are they racing for the minor medals? MLCQ certainly hope so. Only 200 metres left in this Schoolgirl Coxed State Championship of Australia for the Sydney Cup. But it's MLC from Q that have the advantage. Pymble coming home strongly indeed on the crew from Geelong Grammar School. And St Catherine's, who were the early race leaders, could once again be missing out on what they thought they were going to get in the early stage of this one. Last year they led to about the 1600 metre mark and finished with the silver medal. This year they could be finishing out of the medals. Pymble have rode over the top of Geelong Grammar School, but no one is going to touch MLCQ. They are going to take out the 2019 Sydney Cup for the Schoolgirl Coxed State. A fine performance. Pymble Ladies College grabbed the silver medal. Geelong Grammar claimed bronze. St Catherine's finished fourth. The Geelong College will be next in fifth. Loretto Tarak in sixth. Melbourne Girls Grammar in seventh. And Walford Anglican from Adelaide in South Australia will be eighth.
It was a strong performance from MLCQ once they assumed the lead of that race. No one could get close to them. Pymble Ladies came home very quickly and did claim second spot. So it's MLCQ from Pymble Ladies, then Geelong Grammar in third, St Catherine's fourth, the Geelong College fifth, Loretto Turak sixth, Melbourne Girls Grammar School seventh, and Walford Anglican in eighth position, 6:53.38. So certainly a lot faster than we saw in the semi-finals yesterday, and 3.14 seconds between MLCQ and Pymble Ladies. The presentation of medals for the Schoolboys Coxed Quadruple Scull Championship of Australia. Medals will be presented by Nick Parr, Rowing Queensland Chairman, and Emma Brown, Queensland Councillor to Rowing Australia. In third place, and bronze medalists, Melbourne High, Joe Christie, Finn Rinschventer, Oscar Kingham, Nick Sigurder, Leo Jasewski. Coaches Michael Smith, Carl Tomchak, and Paul McGann. Second place, and silver medalists, Radford College, Samuel Earl, Noah Sampson, Joseph Walker, Damien Schroeder, Ben Heatley. Crew was coached by Vicky Spencer. The gold medalists and Australian champions for 2019, Newington College, Harry Jansen, Angus Webster, Alexander Wood, Finn Tainch, Thomas Wadland. Crew was coached by Elliot Shackcloth Bertinetti. Please congratulate the 2019 Australian champions and medalists.
Scotch College out of Melbourne that have started to blast out and trying to go with them. Nudgy, a very, very clean and polished crew, as you'd expect from the ageless John Bowes. They really trying to make sure that it's not just a case of dressage, but they're putting plenty on the end of the handle. as they try and go out with Scotch College in the early stages of this. Shaw, who normally are renowned for blasting out at the start of the race, just being shaded by Christchurch and also crews from Brighton Grammar as they start to make their way up towards the about the 350 metre mark.
And recall when Nudgie won that national title back in, it was 2015. They won it by really blasting out of the start too. I think the surprise of most people watching, got in front and were never headed. So it was a great start by Nudgie College in that race. They are certainly in contention here with just second to Scotch. They've won 6 of the last 7 Queensland Head of the Rivers. Nudgie College just dominant this season, winning every race by a couple of boat lengths in most cases. And they are giving Scotch certainly a run for their money here in the opening stage of this race through 500 metres now.
Yeah, 124 certainly quick. It's not fast conditions by any means here. And 124 through the first 500 for Scotch ahead of Nudgie. Brighton Grammar, they're in third spot ahead of Melbourne Grammar School, Shaw, Christchurch, Geelong Grammar and St Peters from South Australia are in lane number 8, currently in that same position.
And we do have, as we discussed with Ray at the start of the day, the 5 Head of the River winners here from each of the mainland capital cities in this race. A pretty unusual situation. I'm not sure if that's happened before, but Nudgie, of course, winners in Queensland. Scotch, the winners in Melbourne. The Shaw School won here in Sydney. St Peters won in Adelaide, and Christchurch won in Perth. So this really is the ultimate national championship battle between these crews, which have swept all between them in their respective seasons across the country.
And Scotch will be delighted with the fact that they've put over a length into Brighton Grammar in the first 800 metres of this race. They're still half a length ahead of St Joseph's Nudgie College. Brighton Grammar in third spot. And then it is across to Melbourne Grammar School, and going with them is Geelong Grammar and also Shaw and the crew from Christchurch. But on screen, starting to push out a little bit as they head up towards the 1,000 metre mark is Scotch College from Melbourne, Victoria. Dominant in the Schoolboy Coxed 4, claiming all 3 spots on the medal presentation pontoon, and they lead St Joseph's Nudgie College, who are now also starting to move out to the best part, 3/4 of a length on Brighton Grammar School, who are in third position. Shaw in fourth, Christchurch in 5th, Melbourne Grammar in 6th, Geelong Grammar in 7th, and St Peters, South Australia, have lost touch with the remaining 7 boats ahead of them.
Yeah, Brighton Grammar was second to Scotch in the Victorian Head of the River. So they were beaten there by over a length, and a similar margin here. But of course, Nudgie, the interlopers from up north, sitting there in second place. Certainly clear in second at this stage, and then Brighton Grammar third. A good race behind them for 4th place. But the top 3 are just starting to spread out now, and Scotch, as we expected, out in front, looking good, looking powerful, and even from here, they are going to be hard to catch.
Yeah, and one of only 3 Australian schools to have won the Princess Elizabeth Challenge Cup at Henley Royal Regatta when they won a couple of years ago. Scotch College, coached by Tom Woodruff. He's done a tremendous job there over quite a number of years. You see the stroke man with that accentuated layback. He really just extends out as he finishes off that stroke. And they're starting to increase their advantage over St Joseph's Nudgie College. Brighton Grammar have started to peg back Nudgie a little bit in the early stage of this one, but it is Scotch that are out to a little bit of clear water as they start to make their way up through the 1,500 metre mark. 4:32, so certainly not fast conditions. This crew probably in flat conditions is probably about a 5:50 Schoolboy 8. There's Scotch College Victoria crew, and they lead from Nudgie with Brighton Grammar starting to push back on them. Shaw in 4th position. Christchurch in 5th. Melbourne Grammar in 6th. Geelong Grammar in 7th. And St Peters, South Australia, have started to work their way back into it a little bit.
Yeah, Brighton Grammar do look to be moving up on Nudgie there in the battle for the silver medal. Christchurch also finished very well in the heat. They actually beat Nudgie in the heat back on Thursday afternoon, and they are coming through fairly well in the closing stages now. But Scotch well clear. It looks like a battle between Nudgie and Brighton Grammar for the silver medal in the Schoolboys Coxed 8. But the Barrington Cup is only a few hundred metres away from going back to the Scotch School in Melbourne.
Yeah, so could it be 5 times in this decade that Scotch will have won the coveted Barrington Cup? They're only about 160 metres from the finish line, and they lead from St Joseph's Nudgee College, the very polished John Bowes coach crew, who are going to have to show all their grit and determination if they're going to hold off the Nick Lloyd coached crew from Brighton Grammar School. Shaw in fourth.
Finishing well here too on the inside, but might be too far back to medal.
Yeah, they have a fair bit to do, though, to catch the other three boats ahead of them. And then followed by Christchurch and Melbourne Grammar, who are having a good battle for fifth position. But Scotch College, dominant in schoolboy rowing in 2019. The Barrington Cup is heading to Scotch. Second place, very, very close on the finish line. I think Brighton Grammar may just about sprinted Nudgee College. There will await the photo finish on that one. Shaw placed fourth. Fifth place to Christchurch from Western Australia. Sixth to Melbourne Grammar School, seventh to St Peter's College from South Australia, and Geelong Grammar place 8. But Scotch dominant, and we'll await the photo finish to see which way those silver and bronze medals went.
We will wait on that. It was those two bows just travelled towards the line, locked together. It did look like Brighton Grammar may have just got the last stroke in, but we'll wait and see. Scotch College the winners, and confirmation there, Brighton Grammar in second place. So a Victorian 1-2 in the Schoolboys 8A final. Scotch College win the Barrington Cup for the 5th time in 10 years. Second place, Brighton Grammar. Third, Nudgee College from Queensland. Fourth, the Shaw School from Sydney. Fifth, Christchurch from Western Australia. Sixth, Melbourne Grammar. Seventh, St Peter's Adelaide. And 8th place is Geelong Grammar. 6:08.81 in the end, the winning time there for Scotch College. And they won it by 4.39 seconds over Brighton Grammar and just 0.05 back to a brave Nudgee College in third position. The presentation of medals for the Schoolgirls Coxed 8 Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by John Coates AC, President of the Australian Olympic Committee and Rowing Australia Life member, accompanied by Ian Robson, Chief Executive Officer of Rowing Australia. In third place, and bronze medalists, Geelong Grammar, Flora McKenzie, Sophie Ward, Millie Friday, Emma Kent, Sarah McTaggart, Olivia Moore, Brooke Piffy, Maddie Atkins, and Meg Watkins. In second place, and silver medals, Pymble Ladies College, Rebecca Jones, Madison Arthur, Jasmine Bowers, Evie Thompson, Eliza Johnson, Sophia Carmody, Gemma Campbell, Olivia Hunt, Matilda Pennington, coaches Simon Pennington and Jeff Patterson. the gold medalists and Australian champions for 2019, the Methodist Ladies College. Brooke Doolan. Scarlett Hannah. Sarah Deure. Isabella Combs. Kate Russell. Caitlin Powell. Emily Gifford. Katie Easton. Goldie O'Gorman. Crew was coached by Pete Kupsis. The Sydney Cup will now be presented to the crew from Methodist Ladies College Q by Mr. John Coates, AC. Please congratulate the 2019 Australian champions and medalists. Two more finals to go on the morning program before the Interstate Regatta gets underway in just over an hour's time. The Club Women's 8 final has a field of 6. Lane 2, the University of Queensland. Lane 3, the University of Technology, Sydney. Lane 4, Melbourne University. Lane 5, the Sydney Rowing Club. Lane 6, the Australian National University. And Lane 7 is Sydney University.
And Sydney Rowing Club have had a very, very strong middle 1,000 as they've pushed to the lead over the early race leaders, Melbourne University and Sydney University, just 0.23 back. Those great rivals will be putting everything on the end of those handles to try and overcome the other in the latter stage of this one. And the University of Queensland just 0.30 back in this last 500 metres, and they're now just starting to make their way up towards the 1,650 metre mark. We're still Sydney Rowing Club with the advantage, and it's sitting at around about 2/3 of a boat length over the three universities, Melbourne, Sydney and the University of Queensland. So as we get into the latter stage of this one, University of Queensland mounting a charge from over in station number 2 as they try and work their way into the medals, which the medal positions all the way down the course have been held by the Sydney Rowing Club, Melbourne University and Sydney University. But over on the far side of the course, they're throwing everything at this finish, the crew from University of Queensland at 38 strokes a minute. The title holders, Sydney University Boat Club in lane number 7. Trying to reel in Sydney Rowing Club. Looks as though they've started to reel in the crew from Melbourne University in the latter stage of this one. They're in the boat named the Rebecca Wilson after the late great sporting journalist. But Sydney Rowing Club with their bow in front are set to take out the Club Women's Coxed 8 for 2019. Over the defending title holder, Sydney University get the silver medal. Melbourne University hold on for bronze ahead of the University of Queensland in 4th. UTS place 5th. And Australian National University already raced the 4 earlier on today. Doubling up here in the 8, they will play 6th.
So unofficially in race 5:03, the final of the Club Women's Coxed 8. First, Sydney Rowing Club. Second, Sydney University. Third, Melbourne University. Fourth, the University of Queensland. Fifth, the University of Technology, Sydney. And 6th across the line now, the Australian National University. 6:56.68, the unofficial time. And 1.92 seconds between our top 2 crews in race 503. And the last race of the morning session is underway. Race 504 is the final of the Club Men's Coxed 8. A field of 8. Lane 1 is Mossman. Lane 2, Sydney Rowing Club. Lane 3, Banks. Lane 4, Mercantile. Lane 5, Toowong. Lane 6, Sydney University. Lane 7, Melbourne University. And lane 8, Australian Defence Force Rowing.
Sydney Rowing Club, the title holders. Sydney Rowing Club, the title holders. They're in lane number 2 and having a good tussle with Mossman Rowing Club. It's a very, very young Mossman crew over on the far side of the course with Patrick Burke, Connor Hopkins, Justin Brown, Max Durham, Mitch Blackmore, Cram, Nick Rath, Torben Ungermark and Nick Pender and Gabby Angus coxing them as they lead Sydney Rowing Club and their great rivals Mercantile in lane number 4 in the uniquely shaped bow of the Felipe there, named after Noel Donaldson. Of course, Olympic gold medal winning coach in lane number 4, and they've started to push ahead of Sydney Rowing Club. We've just dropped back a little bit as Mossman lead through the first 500 metres. Toowong in 4th, Melbourne University in 5th, Australian Defence Force Rowing in the blue, red and white colours in 6th position there, followed by Banks in 7th and Sydney University Boat Club in 8th place. The Mossman crew on the far side, coached by Matthias Ungermark and Judith Ungermark. And the Mercantile crew coached by David Pincus. We saw Mercantile take out the 4 earlier on today, and there's a number of members doubling up here in that Mercantile boat. So we'll see how the legs are going for these guys. You'd think it was going to sting. It's going to sting in the early stages, and then they just get used to the pain in those legs as this race progresses. So Mossman and Mercantile looking very good as they come up towards 800 metres covered, leading from Mossman, Sydney Rowing Club in 3rd spot, and then followed by the crew from Toowong in lane number 5, and then back to Melbourne University, and a good race going on between Sydney University and ADF Rowing, with Sydney University starting to make their way into this race after a pretty casual start. And in final place we have the Banks Rowing Club crew. So Mercantile out in front and enjoying a little bit of a gap, only about probably a third of a length or so advantage over Mossman, just 0.96 of a second, and Sydney Rowing Club are starting to make a little bit of a push here. Coxed and Scott Traherne, vastly experienced in rowing and also is doing a fair bit of coaching in recent times. And coxing that Sydney Rowing Club crew, who are currently in 3rd spot as they try and go about defending their title. But their Kaiser Cup rivals, Mercantile, are the ones in the box seat at the present moment.
A really good second 500 there from Mercantile. They were down by a small margin at 500, about 0.3 of a second, but they went out to almost a 1 second lead at the halfway mark, and I reckon it's a bit more than that now, getting out towards half a length, maybe slightly more. Mossman and Sydney side by side there on the far side of the course. The peloton with a great view of that battle for second place, but Mercantile in front. Then those 2 Sydney clubs over on the far side, and then Melbourne University just out of shot right over this side of the course, so probably in 4th place.
And the last race for the club point score as well. So Sydney Rowing Club thought they'd had won it last year, and then a recount had shown that Sydney University Boat Club were the winners of the point score last year. Sydney Rowing Club now pushing on Mossman, and they're trying to move up. They've got about half a seat at best on Mossman in the race for 2nd spot at the moment, but Mercantile with that beautiful flat draw through at the head of this field that lead this Club Men's 8 from Sydney Rowing Club in 2nd spot, and then in 3rd place is Mossman, and they're then followed by the crew from Toowong in 4th spot, and then Melbourne University, and then Sydney University in 6th position, and then it is back to the ADF crew, and then Banks in 8th position. But can anyone catch Mercantile over this last 350 metres? Sydney Rowing Club have now started to push ahead of Mossman in that race for the silver medal.
Thank you.
So into the last 250 metres with Mercantile leading from Sydney Rowing Club and Mossman over on the far side after a very strong start. Seeing if they can hold on that. 4 seconds over Melbourne University with 500 metres to go. And will the more experienced Melbourne University crew be able to reel them in? Sydney University are pushing up on Toowong and finishing this one off very strongly indeed. And seeing if they can move their way up into a top 4 placing in this one. But no one can catch Mercantile. And it looks like they're going to take out the club men's 8 to go with their win in the men's Coxless 4. Very strong performance from the Melbourne-based club Mercantile. And David Pincus's crews will claim 2 wins in the club events on Championship Sunday here at the Aon Sydney National Rowing Regatta 2019. Sydney Rowing Club get the silver medal. Mossman hold on for bronze. Just under a length then to Melbourne University, who grabbed 4th. Sydney University finish off strongly to overcome Toowong in the race for 5th. So Toowong placing 6th. 7th will be ADF Rowing and 8th Banks Rowing Club.
Jubilation, that Mercantile crew as they cross the line too. You can just see what these club races mean to the athletes involved. A great win there to Mercantile in the Club Men's Coxed 8 Championship of Australia. 2nd place, then the Sydney Rowing Club. 3rd was Mossman. 4th, Melbourne University. 5th, Sydney University. 6th, Toowong. 7th, Australian Defence Force Rowing. And 8th, the crew from Banks. Just short of 6 minutes they've gone. 6:00.97 for the winning crew from Mercantile, and 3.17 seconds they were ahead of their rivals from the Sydney Rowing Club. The presentation of medals for the Schoolboys Coxed 8 Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by John Coates, AC, President of the Australian Olympic Committee and Rowing Australia Life member, accompanied by Ian Robson, Chief Executive Officer of Rowing Australia. In 3rd place, and bronze medalists, St Joseph's Nudgee College. Leighton Friedrich, Ethan Ferraro, Zane Kirk, Dylan Dunn, Dylan Rhodes, Patrick Long, Ben McMillan, Sam Green, Darcy Carmody, coaches John Bowes and James Lunny. In 2nd place, and silver medalists, Brighton Grammar, Tom Banfield, Henry Armstrong, Brock Jackson, Callum McPeak, Harrison Kirkham, Joshua Bortolucci, Jacob Williams, Martin Kalisa, Charlie Durkin. The crew was coached by Nicholas Lloyd. The gold medalists and Australian champions for 2019, Scotch College. James Isles, Fraser Miss Campbell. Tom McPhail. Josh Hill. Marcus Emmett. Sam Hobson. James Scott. Marcus Cameron. And Archie Gill. Crew was coached by Tom Woodruff. The Barrington Cup will now be presented to Scotch College by Mr. John Coates, AC. Please congratulate the 2019 Australian champions and medalists. The presentation of medals for the Club Women's Coxed 8 Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Mike Sweeney, former chair of the Henley Royal Regatta, and John Boltby AM, life member of Rowing Australia. Third place and bronze medalists, the Melbourne University Boat Club. Sophie Walmsley. Samantha Beveridge. Jamie Tonelli. Peter Rack. Meg Blundy-Jones. Alice Churnside. Laura Foley. Samantha Caday. Will Denegri. Crew was coached by James Smith. In second place and silver medalists representing the Sydney University Boat Club. Alina Parrish. Lucy Coleman. Portia Gateskull. Ellie Clubb. Rachel Balcom. Ella Mentzines. Jessie Allen. Sarah Parsons. Talia Barnett Heppels. Coaches Alfie Young and Debbie Fox. The gold medalists and Australian champions for 2019, the Sydney Rowing Club. Mia Thomas. Lily Gavin. Neve Graham. Brianna Caputo. Kirsten Luton. Lauren Lyon. Ella Hudson. Lily Eels. Hannah Cowap. Coaches Lachlan Carter, Donovan Seck and Brendan Longman. Please congratulate the 2019 Australian champions and medalists. The medal presentation for the Club Men's Coxed 8 Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Mr. Mike Sweeney, former chair of the Henley Royal Regatta, accompanied by Mr. John Boltby, AM, life member of Rowing Australia. In third place and bronze medalists, the Mossman Rowing Club. Patrick Burke. Lexi McLean. Justin Brown. Max Durham. Mitch Blackmore Cram. Nick Rath. Torben Ungemach. Nicholas Pender. Gabby Angus. Coaches Matthias Ungemach and Judith Ungemach. Second place and silver medalists, the Sydney Rowing Club. Dylan Boakes. Christopher McCarthy. Max Brenner. Charlie Patterson. Billy Sanders. Thomas Galloway. Oscar Carr Middleton. Oscar Olsen. Scott Trahern. Coaches Franz Imfeld and Donovan Seck. The gold medalists and Australian champions for 2019 Mercantile Rowing Club. William Legg. Jean Nury. William Ackerman. Jack Kelly. James Hoban. Carl Tomchak. Evan Kennedy. Angus Maloney. Jemima Jamison. Crew was coached by David Pincus. Please congratulate the 2019 Australian champions and medalists.
So, Lizzie, albeit a little late, we're ready to start the Interstate Regatta, which is a highlight of every National Rowing Championships this year. The 2019 Aon Sydney International Rowing Regatta will conclude with the nowadays 10 interstate races.
Indeed, because we have added some para-rowing events, the PR3 category single sculls in both women's and men's.
So the field in race 505?
We've got Rebecca Markwell representing Queensland in lane 4. She's coached by Rodney Silcox. In lane 5, we have Sarah Whiteser from Tasmania, coached by Mark Stott. In lane 6, representing New South Wales, Julia Story, coached by Kathleen Hextall. In lane 7, representing South Australia, Anu Francis. And in lane 8 from ACT, Nikki Ayres, who is coached by Renee Domichens.
And Nikki, I would think on form, maybe the favourite. You know more about this than I do.
Yes, so she is the only one of that group who's on the current Australian team squad. And she represented last year Kat Ross did it, didn't she? So she has represented Australia in the Coxed 4 and has been learning to scull this season. Last year she really mainly did sweep, but she's been learning to scull this season under Renee Domichens, and they've got a really good high performance program there, so she's got plenty of people to train against.
And they're underway. And I walked across this morning with Julia Story, who's very excited about competing this afternoon.
She is indeed. World champion from 2003 when she represented in the mixed Coxed 4. Coached by Kathleen Hextall. I never would have thought we would be seeing her out there in a single scull, let alone racing hard as she is now. She's actually going really well indeed. She has been learning to scull in order to get fit again, and because she had a bit of a back problem. And so the idea was she would scull until that back problem was resolved and then switch to sweep. But instead what's happened is she's really enjoying it and she's getting better and better.
We had a lovely chat walking across the end of the course this morning. Early leader is Sarah Whiteser of Tasmania. She's got out of the blocks very, very quickly indeed. Over the New South Wales sculler Julia Story, then back to Anu Francis of South Australia. Nikki Ayres, who we thought would be the hardest to beat, is back in about 4th place at the moment, and Rebecca Markwell from Queensland is back in 5th. Rebecca resides in Bundaberg. She's coached by Rodney Silcox. Of course, his son Nick Silcox rode for Australia at lightweight level a couple of years ago.
So Sarah Whiteser, a former international for Australia, she rode in the mixed Coxed 4 in 2015 with her partner Alistair Chong, who's here today. Who's going to have a crack at para-canoe now.
Chongy, is he? Oh, yeah. Okay.
He is. Good luck to him.
So Mark Stott coaching Sarah Whiteser, and Mark is doing a terrific job at Tasmania University and got a really large entry at this regatta.
Really has, and yeah, it must have been working so hard, long days, but they are for any coach here, I guess.
Here comes Nikki Ayres now.
Nikki.
The bow starting to come into it. She's got a bit of overlap over Whiteser now. So it's Tasmania, albeit narrowly, over the ACT. Then follows New South Wales, South Australia and Queensland. So Sarah Whiteser holding the lead. Little tricky out there. There's a bit of a head breeze. certainly calmer than it was at 5:30 this morning.
Yes, most definitely. But that is a tricky breeze, especially if you're not truly confident, and also if you have any sort of impairment, as of course para rowers do, that might make you go a little more towards one side than another. We can see there from the lovely drone footage how very much more confident Nikki is getting as she progresses through the race. Sarah Whiteser is a visually impaired athlete, so there would be a launch following her, just making sure she's confident about her steering, but without washing the others down.
Yes, which is very difficult. If someone gets a really big lead, the umpires need to think about the safety of all competitors, and they have done a fantastic job at the Aon 2019 Sydney International Rowing Regatta. And as the race has gone on, Nikki Ayres she was just a little off balance, just a little floppy around in the start, the first 20 or 30 strokes or so, but really getting on top of her work now and starting to stretch out and starting to put the gap that Lizzie and I expected her to have into the rest of the field. New South Wales Julia Story, Kathleen Hextall coaching her, is holding down second place. The early leader, Sarah Whiteser of Tasmania, still in third. Anu Francis of South Australia fourth, and Rebecca Markwell of Queensland is in fifth place.
So we have fairly experienced people in here who've been rowing for years in Julia Story and Sarah Whiteser and Rebecca Markwell to a certain extent. And Nikki Ayres on the far side, been rowing, I would say, coming up for 2 years now. She was found through the APC, Australian Paralympic Committee Talent Search, and Rowing Australia's Train for Tokyo campaign. A former rugby player, but a rugby tackle went wrong, and she has some neural damage to her leg, which classifies her as para, and she's making good use
Progress.
of, really good progress, and I think she's really enjoying meeting a whole new crowd of people through rowing. As I say, she represented last year, and she's a nurse in the intensive care units, so a very calm individual and a real team player. Really wonderful person. And then we've got Anu Francis representing South Australia. Now, she too was found through a talent search day that was run by the Rowing South Australia and the South Australian Institute of Sport back in October. So she's not been rowing very long at all. Her sport before that was badminton.
And she's coached by your old mate, Christine McLaren.
She is coached by my old mate and rowing crony, Christine McLaren, indeed, who's doing a great job there with the para-athletes since the former lead of their talent programme, Ben Flanagan, I think he switched across to school rowing now.
And Renee Domashens is coaching Nikki Ayres, and Renee and Nick Garrett, I don't know how many times we've mentioned the fantastic job they're doing at the ACT High Performance Centre, but it bears repeating. They are doing an amazing job, and Renee has another full-time job.
She does indeed, yeah. She works in research, I believe, into the genes that cause cancer, and she also coxes. She coxes within our para national team, and she also was out there coxing the lightweight men's 8 that won a couple of days ago. And she also runs, does a lot of running. I think former dancer as well, keeps very fit.
So Nikki Ayres, you said she's an intensive care nurse and very calm around the team.
Absolutely.
So, and the team doc will be Jeff Conn this year for the World Championships. So he works in emergency medicine. So if anything goes wrong, there'll be people, they'll have to wake them up. They'll be that calm.
Doing a great job here, Nikki. She found sculling to be really challenging when she first started. But what is really impressive here is how even in tricky water, she's managing to get both those blades in, same time, pretty much the same depth, which helps her with the steering. And she's just really staying persistent and tenacious in just taking one stroke and then the next one, getting really nice length.
And we can see the Sykes Racing sign on the side of her boat there. She's got a nice length, hasn't she? She does get a long way forward.
Nikki did surfboat rowing, so she's quite familiar with the
lean back.
Oh, yes.
Plenty of length at the back and plenty of length at the front.
The other thing I really like about her sculling is the sequence she's got there, where she's getting the hands away and over the knees and then getting some rock over before she gets up to the catch.
You're sitting here like a coach.
I've really enjoyed coaching Nikki. She's so really keen to learn and become a master at her craft in this new sport.
That sequential movement is just what we expect from rowing. It's something that hasn't changed. Some people say that rowing's a simple sport that's been made hard by experts, but I think that is essentially the movement that we're looking for.
Absolutely, that real logical, sequential gathering of your entire body up to that catch position, put the blades in, and then move the boat past the point in which you put the blade. So she's just had a tricky stroke there, but she's pressing on again. She's picked up the rate just to get the boat speed back up again.
And heading towards the 1,500 metre mark, and the point score for the Rowing Australia Cup is going to be an early lead to ACT, barring mishap, as Nikki Ayres goes through the 1,500 metre mark in 7 minutes 42.16, and quite a margin back to Julia Story of New South Wales in second place. 14.64 seconds the margin there. Then in third place would be South Australia's Anu Francis, then Sarah Waitzer, the early leader, and Rebecca Markwell from Queensland in fifth place.
So Julia Story, of course, we saw her race in the single and in the double, and in the mixed Coxed 4, this regatta. In the mixed double, she was the PR3 category, quite a commanding lead that she and her doubles partner Mac Russell had over the rest of the field. They're very keen indeed to represent Australia at the INAS or INAS games that are being held in Brisbane here in Australia in October.
It's a great organisation. As I said yesterday, I think it was, I was involved in a number of meetings before I decided to retire from work, and very enthusiastic. The people that are running they fluctuate between INAS and INAS games as well. I'm not sure if they know what it's really called, but it's certainly an organisation that's on the move, and they were trying to attract a big Chinese contingent to come to the games because of the number of people in China. There's if 1% of the population has a intellectual impairment in China, that's a hell of a lot of people.
Yes, exactly. And we did have visitors from Hong Kong at the regatta this week. They have gone home now, but they weren't aware of those global games, and of course they, like us, have a mixed group of people, physical and intellectual impairments, and they're really interested in it too. So hopefully we'll have some interest from them and maybe welcome them back to our shores again. Always wonderful to see the team from Hong Kong here.
Absolutely, and actually those games, Mac Russell's a bit of a poster boy, the Queensland representative in the next event, a bit of a poster boy for that particular event.
Yeah, indeed he is, yes.
Yeah, so Sarah Waitzer just had a little steering difficulty there, but as Lizzie alluded to, the umpires are there with Sarah and with Rebecca Markwell. And our leader, destined to be our winner, Nikki Ayres, with another 15 or 20 strokes to go, sculling beautifully.
She is. This is going to be a very good coaching video for Renee.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've had a lot of footage of her, which is awesome. She's a very humble lady, so she'll be embarrassed, but she comes across the line now in first.
And first points to the ACT in the battle for the Rowing Australia Cup, as New South Wales Julia Story comes past the John Coates Pavilion. Julia Story holding down second place. Third is South Australia. Fourth, Tasmania. And Rebecca Markwell of Queensland in fifth place, and making a bit of a charge at Sarah Waitzer. Sarah paid the price for that very fast first 500 metres or so, as Anu Francis of South Australia comes to the line. 2 or 3 more strokes and she'll be across.
Also sculling beautifully for somebody who's been rowing for such a short period of time. This is wonderful to see.
Well, it doesn't surprise you with Christine McLaren coaching her.
Of course not.
Of course not. And Sarah Waitzer from Tasmania will finish in fourth place, and Rebecca Markwell from Queensland will be fifth in the Interstate Women's PR3 Single Scull. First blood to the Australian Capital Territory in the bid for the Rowing Australia Cup.
And Julia told me before she went out, she knew it was very important that she pulled hard the whole way along, because any points are important points when you're seeking the overall point score, which of course New South Wales are.
Of course, everybody is. I've often said at Queensland dinners, it's about maximising your result. If you can't get the gold, get the silver. If you can't get the silver, get the bronze, you know. Just maximise your result to do the best you can to get the greatest number of points for your state in the battle for that trophy. Well done to Rebecca Markwell, who's crossed the line now in 5th place.
So confirming the results of our interstate women's PR3 single scull, a win for the Australian Capital Territory sculler Nikki Ayres. Second, representing New South Wales, Julia Story. Third, representing South Australia, Anu Francis. Fourth, representing Tasmania, Sarah Weitzer. And fifth, representing Queensland, Rebecca Markwell. The time for that event, 10 minutes 24.19 seconds. The margin 16.87 and 22.22. Ladies and gentlemen, a special presentation of the Schoolgirl Point Score Trophy, Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Ian Robson, Chief Executive Officer of Rowing Australia. So the winner of the Schoolgirl Point Score Trophy, Queenwood School for Girls. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate Queenwood School.